This is the Writers' Circle of Durham Region panel discussion on getting published in the new millennium, the 21st century. We're going to talk now a little bit about the digitization of the writing world and the publishing world, its impact on writers, how we deal with it. It's like the elephant in the room, how we cope with it, and maybe how we take advantage of it. Let's talk a little bit about the sense of that massive nature of the internet out there grabbing our work for better or worse. Google apparently has 7 million titles already digitized and now negotiating with the writers to actually publish. You're nodding, Jim. You're familiar, James. You're familiar with this phenomenon. How does it affect what you do as a teacher and as a writer?
I'm more worried about it as a publisher, actually, because of the amount of money it takes and the amount of effort to put a book together. You're very proud of your product, your author, everybody involved in the process. And now the ebooks are out there. I wish I could remember their name, but there's an organization in the United States that's created like a borrowing group. It's very big in New York City, where people exchange their copies of ebooks, and there's no doubt that this is causing. It's going to be similar to the kind of Napster phenomena we had about 10 years ago, with music, where music was being downloaded for free. And a lot of people were being ripped off for the money that they were owed for their creative ownership of the music. Same thing, I think, is going to happen in ebooks, and it's pretty easy to share a digitized copy of a book. It's a lot more difficult to take someone's hard copy book and then ask somebody if they would sell you their copy. I don't know why, but people are lazy, I think.
We're sort of, as writers, caught between the devil and the deep blue sea. On one hand, there's the thrill of knowing that somehow the internet is distributing what we write to an eager reader. On the other hand, where do you draw the line between, all right, I've given you enough freebies, now I have to start getting back what I deserve as fair compensation for what I've created? Don, if your work in your first book were to get out on the internet, and maybe you promote it, maybe you want that to happen, what's your thought about the ethics of that, about the business sense of that?
Well, I think you lose the whole value of the product if it can be transferable and shared for free. I think most writers are writing to make a living and to educate as well, but if you have no control over your work, then it really is diluting the marketplace, and it devalues the work of the writer.
Absolutely. But if I buy your book, Dawn, I can give it to my friend or lend it to someone.
Yes,
I mean,
but
some people will say that's just the equivalent act.
But not thousands
exactly.
of them at a
No,
time.
not thousands.
Right?
I mean,
No,
you can have
time.
pass-along
That's the big
readership, but
difference.
I think, for the tactile people that have their book and they like it and they've made notes, they're not going to easily share that with somebody, as opposed to downloading things for free. So I think it really dilutes the market.
Sorry. The other thing that's been out there a lot lately that I've read a lot about is the question of pricing. You've got, I think it was Amazon wanting to set the prices of electronic books, saying that they're all going to be $9.99, and the publisher's saying, well, no, when a book is brand new and we would be selling the physical copy and hardcover, we need to be making a lot more money than that to make back our editing costs, our production costs, and everything else. And I don't know if any of you read about that. There was that issue where they pulled the buy buttons. They pulled one publisher's books all off. It's sort of a strong arm tactic.
Off the internet.
Because people don't know how to value electronic books yet. They're not paying for physical objects, so it's harder for them to be willing to part with their money. But on the other hand, the publisher still has a lot of their costs in place. The printing isn't the biggest cost. There's a lot more involved. And I think people aren't seeing that electronic book still does have that value. So
But how do you cope with the reality that more and more the people who use the internet assume that what's up there is free?
A lot of people are using free content as a promotional tool. You'll put a chapter or two up and use that as sort of a teaser to hopefully get people interested enough to buy it.
But that was
Piracy is
the
a different-
philosophy
Yeah.
behind allowing a few cuts of music to go out
Yeah.
in hopes that they would rush off to the music store and buy my CD for the entire album. And it didn't happen. In fact, the opposite occurred.
Well, it does to an extent. I buy most of my music on iTunes, and I'll go and I'll listen to that 30-second clip and decide if I want just the song that I heard or if I want the whole album. And if I like enough 30-second clips, then I'll buy the whole album. But piracy, again, is a different thing. You're not talking about the author willingly giving you a chapter or two. You're talking about someone putting a book up there and taking that away. And that's, there aren't ways to police that yet.